St. Louis is full of many hidden gems, and today we're going to talk to the founder of one of them. Afriky Lolo is a nonprofit organization that is committed to bringing West African dance and culture to the St. Louis community. While it's best known for its colorful, energetic, and outstanding performances, its mission and focus goes beyond the stage. We'll talk to Afriky Lolo's founder and director, Diádié Bathily, next on City Corner. I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to City Corner. A little piece of Africa is existing right here in St. Louis, and many of you may not even know it. The dance performance group Afriky Lolo burst onto the local scene in 2003 with amazing performances of West African dance and drumming. In 2007, Afriky Lolo became a full-fledged, nonprofit organization centered on bringing West African dance and culture to schools and the greater community. Its efforts have had strong results, exciting children and adults to not only master West African dance, but also learn more about African culture and often their African heritage. Today we're talking with founder and director Diádié Bathily about the work and goals of Afriky Lolo. Thanks for being here, Diádié.
Thank you.
All right, Afriky Lolo. For those of the people at home who don't know about it, please tell me please define it for me. Tell me what it's about.
Well, Afriky Lolo is a performing company, not only performing company, it's a non-profit organization. So we have company for all different ages. And like you know, in Africa, everybody dance. Okay. From little to adults. And we have children, teenagers, adults, and even elders company. Mm-hmm. And through that, those companies, we're trying to reach the community with schools to educate them about African dance and African culture. Okay.
Go ahead.
And also about African languages. Right. Anything about Africa we can use as a tool to reach the community, to change their life in good way. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So the mission is, again, as we've sort of talked about it, is bringing education, but African culture and dance to the St. Louis community.
Exactly, that's what we do through African dance, and we're using as education to go to in schools in the city and also reach also the community, not only the schools, but we gotta go in the community to work with adults, with elders, bring them in the theater and perform for them, talking to them about African dance and the story behind. That's how we're reaching the community, and we go also through the schools to talk to the kids, teach them about African dance, teach them about African drumming, and about the focus in Africa, the way I grew up. Yes.
I know most people in town, if they have heard of Afriky Lolo, they know it because of its performances. So tell me a little bit about the company and how many dancers you have in the company and who's sort of involved.
Well, the company, we have about 35 adults. We have teenagers, a wonderful 15 teenagers, and also we have children company, which is 27 children, and then we have 13 elders.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a good number. And do you hold auditions, or are they students already of yours? Are they from the educational side, that from schools that you've gone to? Well,
we have an audition for the company. Of course, we're trying to have wonderful dancers in the company to be able to touch people's lives. But outside of the company, of course, we have classes, and Afriky Lolo is open to everybody, to black, to white, all races, to come and to learn about this wonderful continent.
Okay. Well, I want to take a look at some of the photos, because I don't think people realize how amazing, when you actually see Afriky Lolo performance, how amazing it is. And we can kind of go through some of the photos and you can discuss that. So let's take a look at one of the first images that we have coming up on screen. And this is actually the children's company.
Correct. This is the children's company. It's called Yele. Yele means sunshine. Just like you're looking at the chest, you're seeing the sun shining, and you have a wise person in the middle of the sun watching those kids, educating them, watching after where they're putting their steps. So that's a yearly sunshine, and when they're performing, it's just like the sun is shining.
Okay. And there you are.
And this is me. That was one of the performers, and working in the field.
Okay.
And when we perform, working in the field, there is no short. So there is a work field activity we talking about on stage during the performance. And the next one is the mask Kananga. Kananga is a mask from Mali. Okay. So from Ivory Coast, we're going to Mali, trying to educate people about, in general, about the continent, saying there are 54 countries in there. So Kananga is a powerful mask they perform in the village in Mali. And here is Venezia. She's one of the dancers in the teen company. She's a teenager, and she's an amazing performer, and she's one of the customers right now called Maraca, and she's doing Maraca Don. So dance from Maraca people, and this is exactly their dress.
Right.
And we educate them about the costume, the makeup, and the dance and the history. So it's not just about performing.
Right. So instead, it's not just about performing. Even what you're wearing today, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Let me guess, is that mudcloth? Is that mudcloth?
Exactly, mudcloth. I love it.
My African history coming through.
So yes, this is mudcloth, and it's from Mali, and it's wear by Bamana people. It's a Bamana people. So this cloth was totally white and made by hand, and mud cloth, because they use a kind of a mud, special mud mixed with iron and mixed with a kind of leaves to be able to get different colors they're looking for, light brown or black. So when you go to Bamana people, the design means something, you know, like design for somebody who is getting married or for the chief. So all of this design represents something, and I love it, and it reminds me home. And when we are performing, we make clothes here, bring the cloth from Africa, and give to the children or give to the teens or adults, and they cut it, and we do exactly the same costume like in Africa. And it's amazing to see them working very hard, getting the steps, making their own costume and perform it.
And I think what's really interesting is it's not just like you're teaching them dance and then they go home. I mean, you're having them make costumes, you know, teaching them the importance of the costumes, the history of them, and it's the same for the dance as well. And this is not just for adults, but also for the kids.
Yes. This is for everybody, and it's amazing. We're talking about dance, but everything is tied to dance. It's learning about Africa, it's learning about culture. What we want to do is trying to bring what we have in Africa, and it doesn't exist here, and it's very good for the education for the kids and the community, saying this is another way to educate the children. And right now, we are worried about tomorrow, about those children. We want them to be proud of themselves. We want them to do something and be able to grow up peacefully. So I'm ready to do anything about bringing African culture and change their lives.
Now tell us a little bit about your background, because we know that you're from West Africa, but you have a very extensive professional career, and just give us a little bit of background information about you.
Well, my parents are originally from Mali, and I was born in Ivory Coast. And then I grew up between Mali and Ivory Coast in the city and Mali in the village. And I started to dance in Mali and bring back to Ivory Coast. And then I went to the dance school called EDEC, École de Danse et d'Échange Culturel, which is a school of dance and culture exchange. And the director is Rosemary Guiraud. She lives right now in New York. And from the schools, I was in France to teach. I went to Paris, and then from Paris, I went to Toulouse to teach African dance into the companies and dance studios. And I went back to Ivory Coast, and then from Ivory Coast, I came to US to teach African dance at University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Okay.
That's how I got here, and it's just amazing working in Africa, working in France, and then working in U.S. So it's amazing to see about culture differences, about people, and that make me somewhere a good teacher.
Right. So how long have you been here in St. Louis?
St. Louis, it's been about 9 years now.
9 years.
9 years.
And you started at UMSL, and so how do you go from UMSL to starting your own nonprofit organization?
From UMSL to Webster, Webster to Coca, from Coca, and I told myself, you know what? I think I start to understand how to speak in English, because when I first arrived, I didn't speak any English, and I said, you know, I think I want to do more than I've been doing at UMSL or at Webster or at Coca, and I just opened this door. Let's try to have a non-profit organization, and in that way, I want to touch a lot of people's hearts and be able to help those kids in the city, in the community. So, and trying to get some funding to pursue this dream, which is helping people in the community, changing their life through dance and music.
Yeah, because I remember reading when you were at Coca that you were one of the more popular classes, and so many people were signing up for your class, and you were being asked to go to schools, and Coca, as part of their educational outreach, was having you go to schools both in the city and county. And so what is it, just the momentum of that kind of gives you that idea, I need to go and kind of break off on my own and do this as an organization?
Yes, teaching was wonderful, and I will be teaching all the time. But on the other hand, just myself, sometimes you get tired being a student. So after teaching, I said, you know, I can go on my own, teach them, but prepare them to be able to bring something on stage which is their own fruit. They will be proud of themselves, saying, I stopped being a teacher, I'm performing it. Oh my God. And it's just amazing because you, me, everybody around me, you know, people who are looking at me, everybody want to be special. That's what we're talking about. Right. I want to be special. So it's amazing when you put these children on stage in front of people, performing something different, wearing something different, knowing something different that makes them special.
Right. Well, you've got a strong educational component, and I know that we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. But we do have to take a short break, so stay with us as we have much more to discuss with Afriky Lolo director Diádié Bathily.
We were in an emergency situation. We don't have extra. We have a little bit of water and a little bit of food. A meeting place, no.
No.
I don't think we have a first aid kit.
We have tuna fish, we have beans, we have canned tomatoes,
True.
you know.
That's true, but that's really not survival food. Tomato paste.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They almost didn't survive into this new millennium. Thanks to you and others worldwide, the whales survived. Unfortunately, humans still threaten their existence today with pollution, loss of habitat, and worst of all, continued and expanding commercial whaling. Now, more than ever, stay in the fight. It's time to save the whales again.
Ready. Ready. Ready.
It can be a little awkward when your friend tells you he's been diagnosed with a mental illness. But what's even more awkward is, if you're not there for him, he's less likely to recover.
I'm here to help, man, whatever it takes.
I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. We're talking with Afriky Lolo founder and director Diádié Bathily. Thanks again for being here.
You're welcome.
So kind of what we were talking about before was, you know, what I want to really get into is the educational component of Afriky Lolo. How do you feel that sort of kids and their parents have responded to learning about West African culture and dance?
Well, the kids, first of all, when I'm having a residency in the school, the kids, they think I'm coming from Africa every single day, teaching them and returning back to Africa. It's just amazing, their question, helping me to teach them, you know, and telling them how far it is and how big the continent it is, and explain about the cultures and the people living there. And it's just amazing for them to know, and then to find out why I'm black and they are black and they are from here, I'm from Africa. So they are so much tied into it. It's just amazing. And the kids, they learn about themselves. They learn about me, and then they learn about African culture.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's so interesting, because for many times this would be the first time that someone in St. Louis, especially a child, is going to meet someone from Africa, because they may not have that chance to travel, you know, overseas. And I guess what I was going to lead into was also for the performance, that really this is the first time that someone's going to see authentic African dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time we perform, and there are some people from the audience, they think of the companies coming from outside of St. Louis. They think they are coming from Africa, or somewhere from New York or from Chicago. And we said, no, this is a kind of a recipes we have here in St. Louis. And we put everything together here. We have Afriky Lolo here, who is doing education about African dance and culture to help the kids to understand African culture and dancing and help them in the future.
Right.
And it's just amazing how successful it is.
Well, speaking of the performances, I've seen them before, and they're absolutely amazing. So we're going to cut and look at some footage of your performances. So let's take a look. So this is, now tell me about when we're looking at this. This is performed at Coca, was this right?
Yes, this is performed at Coca, and right now what we're watching, it's a temate, it's a dance from Ivory Coast, and the girls are in the field, and now we see the guys pounding the ground, which is representing rice on the floor, and then the girls, they have they're winning and trying to separate the rice from the chalk. You know? So you have it's an African activity. What is going on every day in Africa to bring here on stage, on professional stage, choreograph a wonderful way people can understand it through the dance steps.
So the dances are actually in many ways reflective of what everyday life is like in Africa, but their dances associated with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it's we have also the costume does fit with the dance, and you have a rhythm fit with the dance. Each dance has its own rhythm, and it's amazing to see them learning about all of these dances and learn about the culture, learn about what is happening every day in Africa, and the kids will bring back at home and explain to the parents. So my education keeps going. It doesn't stop to the kids. The kids bring to the parent and talk about it, and bring the parent to the performance to see what it is, and the parents bring the others, auntie, uncle, and then the community is getting bigger and bigger.
Well, I know we've got a little bit more, you know, video to take a look at, and what I really wanted to show about this, it's hard to, you know, display it across the TV screen, but how colorful, as I mentioned earlier, the performances are, and really how lively they are, and you have live drumming. So let's take a look at some of this. And this is a performance you did last year?
This is a performance I did last year. It's called The Mask. And we had a European woman who went to Africa and bought a mask and didn't know anything about that mask. She loves it because it was beautiful. And then she went back to Europe, and then the spirit of the mask telling her, bring me back where I came from. And I think I'm more useful there. And right now, this is myself performing with my dancers from here in America. And when we're on stage, it's hard to tell who is from America, who is from Africa.
Absolutely.
The energy is so high, you stay in your chair frozen the whole time.
Right, right. I know, it's amazing. You'd actually think that even though these are local St. Louisans performing with you, that it's an authentic company from West Africa.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it. It's hard to show you even on video, but when you are in front and you're watching it, you will understand why we can hold performing, dancing in the village from 6 p.m. all the way to 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning. We don't know how we do it. It's just how the energy is built and people enjoying that moment, thinking about what is happening, which is a wedding or or baptism or kind of two people coming together as after a war, after fighting, after long generation between two families who never came together. It's just amazing.
Well, I noticed you have something next to you, which I'm assuming is a prop from one of the performances. What is this? Other than it's clear that it's a mask, but tell me a bit about it.
This is a mask, and it's one piece of wood and being covered, by somebody from Africa. And this is a mask called Jelalu Zauli, and it's a mask from Ivory Coast, and it's a long story between this face, which is human, and the snake, the birds. And we did perform this show at Coca about the whole story, and it's called the Goddess Zauli.
Goddess. And in the back, is that animal hair in the back portion of it?
So the back, you have an animal hair. So Zauli, she's a half human and a half animal. She's the daughter of the king, which is the lion.
Sure.
And so you have the competition between the bird and the snake represent two different people, and they want to get married with this beautiful daughter, Zauli, but the king gotta find out who is the best husband for her.
Sure.
He want to make sure she will be all right. He want to make sure who will fight for her the whole time. Just like at the wedding here in the church, saying, I promise to take off you out of my life. So the king is his own way to find out who will take off the daughter.
So you're taking African folk tales and bringing them to stage and to dance, which is wonderful.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why when I'm here, I don't go in the room and saying I want to create. No, there are so many in Africa, 54 countries. And in Ivory Coast, there are more than 60 different people. So I just gotta go to Africa with my piece of paper and write stories down and come back here in America, choreograph on stage. To me, it's to build this bridge between Africa and America, and they don't have to travel. I want them to go to Africa, but this is my way to contribute to Americans' lives. Yeah.
I want to take a look at just a couple more photos before we continue on, because you mentioned that this came directly from Africa, and I think that everyone should know that you actually bring all your costumes. Some of them are handmade here, but then you also import them. So let's take a look at the screen. These costumes, some of them, the shells were brought from Africa?
Yes, all of these costumes are being brought from Africa and explained to the kids the material and how long it took them. So I even take pictures of buying those material in Africa. And last year, before the show, we did a short documentary before the show started, how we did put this whole thing together from Africa to America. And look at this young woman, Dominic. She's has a scarf on her face, and that's Soninke people. You look at my mom, she has the same design. And the girls after they, from teenager to adult, they have that kind of initiation. And then when they're performing, you see on her face, she has the same design, and she's wearing her performing clothes. And that's Alicia, exactly. To the side, you have full of gold, and that shows how proud and how beautiful she is. And it's just amazing to see those costumes here bring from Africa on professional stage. Sometimes I don't even know where I am.
Right.
I think I'm in Africa during the performance. It's when the performance is over, and then back to my car, I say, oh, we are in America.
We're in St. Louis. And you know, what's really interesting is you have the adults who perform, and adults are learning about Africa in many ways for the first time. But then by, you know, the children that are dancing, they're learning a lot at an early age, which is great. And you know, studies have shown that children who are exposed to sort of the arts at an early age, that it helps not only academically with enrichment, but it helps culturally as well. So I mean, talk about your educational component again, and specifically what you feel children are taking away from learning about Africa through Afriky Lolo.
Well, in Africa, when we're learning about a dance, it takes years of a training, and there are the focus. You have a focus, you have a math, you have a counting of things, you have how to make it, how to take care of yourself. And that's all about how to explain to yourself and tell you, you be okay. You gotta be able to make a things from your 10 fingers to count on those 10 fingers. That's what my mom said. What you going to do with those 10 fingers and your mind? So we're teaching them practically how to make things, and also how to figure out to do it. And it's just amazing from dance class, and it's hard to explain what we do in the dance class. But when we brought a kid arrive, and you can tell after 3-4 months, that kid, the way the kids focus, it's totally different. And the grade of the kids start to go up, because you cannot be a mess and come in the dance class, follow the steps and listen to the drumming. It's so well organized.
Okay. Well, you know what? I don't want to cut you off, but I know I want to tell people about your website so they can go to for more information. What's the website?
The website is www.afrikylolo.com. afrikylolo.com. So that's where you can get all information about the company, the classes, and where we will be performing.
I know, because you've got some great performances coming up.
A lot, and beautiful performances. Please don't miss it.
I know. Thank you, Diádié, so much for being here today. I think everyone has learned a lot. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you. I'm Sarah Thompson. And of course, thank you for watching City Corner.
The preceding was a paid announcement on ABC 30. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KDNL-TV.